The dark web is a wild place full of illegal activities like drug deals, stolen credit cards, and hacked computer files. But there's one thing you won't find there: the secret recipe for Coca-Cola. That's because when someone tried to sell top-secret company information to Coca-Cola's biggest rival, Pepsi, they ended up getting arrested by the FBI instead. How did Coca-Cola's biggest rival manage to steal one of the most closely guarded business secrets of all time? And why did they end up telling Coke that somebody was trying to sell them the recipe? Keep watching to find out. It all started with an employee at Coca-Cola headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, named Joya Williams. She was an administrative assistant who handled confidential files and overheard lots of sensitive conversations. She wasn't a high-level executive, but since she worked so closely with them, she was privy to a lot of important information. She even passed by the infamous vault where the Coca-Cola formula was kept every day. As an administrative assistant, Joya wasn't making very much money, and she was desperate to earn some extra cash. She was well aware of how valuable the trade secrets of Coca-Cola would be, and she hatched a plan to steal them and sell them to the highest bidder. But who could she sell these secrets to without running the risk of going to jail? Well, the obvious choice was Coca-Cola's biggest competitor, Pepsi. The two companies have been fierce rivals ever since Pepsi was introduced in 1893. By 1904, they were fighting each other so hard that newspapers dubbed the Cola Wars. Ever since then, the two companies have done everything they can to get ahead of each other. In fact, in 1988, Coca-Cola even briefly bought out Pepsi's biggest shareholder, investment firm of Shearson Lehman Hutton, in order to gain control over Pepsi. So although it may seem odd to modern audiences to think that Coca-Cola and Pepsi would ever team up, it was a much more common practice back in the early 2000s. Joya decided to approach a man named Ibrahim Dimson, who she knew was a middleman for Pepsi. She asked him how much money Pepsi would be willing to pay for Coca-Cola's trade secrets, and he told her that they would definitely be interested. If she could somehow manage to get her hands on some of Coca-Cola's confidential documents, she would make a hefty profit. Joya quickly got to work compiling a list of trade secrets and confidential documents. With this information, she and Dimson could hold some serious leverage over Coca-Cola. Even better, Joya had an accomplice, her friend Edmund Duani. Together, they stole hundreds of boxes of files and loaded them onto a truck owned by Duani. At least that was the plan. But Joya quickly found out that her boss caught wind of her plan and informed the authorities. Now that the police were involved, Joya and Dahani had no choice but to abandon their plan and meet with Diaman in secret. There, they agreed to try again, but this time with a smaller list of targets. This time, Joya and Dahani managed to go undetected and steal the following: research and development information, details of upcoming products, financial reports, legal memos, sales data, and internal audit reports. Although they didn't manage to steal the Coca-Cola formula, this information was still worth millions of dollars. Joya took the documents and put them in a small bag, along with a sample of an upcoming Coca-Cola product. Then she wrote a letter explaining what each item was and how much they were worth. The letter read, "As you requested, I am sending you the confidential information that you wanted." Also enclosed is a sample of a new product that will be released by Coke this summer. Please contact me as soon as you receive this package to discuss payment arrangements. Thank you for your cooperation. Then she sealed the letter in the bag, put it in a FedEx box, and sent it off to Pepsi. Pepsi received the box and was shocked by what was inside. They immediately contacted Coca-Cola and told them what was going on before passing the case over to the FBI since the beginning of the Cola Wars. Coca-Cola and Pepsi have always tried to stay one step ahead of each other, but they've always stayed within the bounds of the law. That's why it made headlines around the world when they heard that somebody had tried to sell top-secret Coca-Cola trade secrets to Pepsi. The FBI wasted no time launching an undercover investigation. Soon after the package was delivered to Pepsi, an undercover agent from the FBI contacted Diamond through a number provided in Joya's letter. He identified himself as a member of Pepsi's legal department and told Dimson that they were interested in buying the trade secrets. Dimson eagerly agreed, and the two made plans to meet in a hotel room in Atlanta to finalize the deal. When the big day arrived, Dimson brought another man with him to the meeting. This was Edmund Duani, who would hand over the package to the supposed Pepsi representative. But of course, it wasn't actually a Pepsi representative. It was an FBI agent. When the deal was finalized and the money exchanged hands, the agent placed Dimson and Duani under arrest. The pair was swiftly indicted and charged with stealing trade secrets, which is a federal offense. They were both given hefty fines and spent several years behind bars. Meanwhile, the woman responsible, Joya Williams, had fled to Jamaica and was living under the false identity of Nadia Stewart. She spent several years evading the FBI before they finally tracked her down and arrested her. She was brought back to America and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit theft of trade secrets. As a result, she was sentenced to 8 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and was ordered to pay $1 million in restitution. After she was released, Joya's sister filed a lawsuit against her, alleging that Joya had used her house to stash some of the stolen goods and had tried to sell her car without disclosing that it had been seized by the FBI. The sister also claimed that Joya owed her $50,000, that she was supposed to pay back from a joint savings account, but refused to return after her arrest. After all, Joya had been the one who suggested opening the account in the first place. Fortunately for Joya, she had already declared bankruptcy after being ordered to pay the $1 million fine, meaning that her sister wouldn't get that $50,000 back. The judge ruled that Joya was indeed legally obligated to return the $50,000. But since she was already bankrupt, it was unlikely that she would ever be able to repay her sister. While Joya Williams masterminded the plan to steal Coca-Cola trade secrets, it was Ibrahim Demson who actually pulled the trigger and sold the information to Pepsi. But why did he do it? What kind of man would betray his own country's most cherished soft drink brand? Well, it turns out that Demson was a very ambitious man who really wanted to make it big in the business world. He saw selling Coca-Cola trade secrets to Pepsi as his golden ticket to success. He dreamed of owning his own mansion one day and being surrounded by beautiful women. He also wanted to travel all around the world and see what it had to offer. But he wasn't willing to work hard and build a fortune through legitimate means. That's why he turned to crime. Unfortunately for him, he chose the wrong kind of crime. Many people believe that stealing Coca-Cola's trade secrets was far more valuable than robbing a bank. That's because the formula for Coca-Cola is arguably one of the most valuable trade secrets in the entire world. Some people say that it's worth billions of dollars, but of course we can't know for sure because it's a closely guarded secret. But here's the kicker. Even if Demson had managed to get his hands on the formula, he still couldn't do anything with it. That's because Coca-Cola owns all patents and trademarks associated with the Coca-Cola name and logo. This means that even if he somehow managed to recreate the exact formula, he wouldn't be able to sell it or make any profit from it. He would be legally obligated to destroy it. So why did Pepsi agree to help the FBI catch the criminals instead of taking the secrets themselves? Well, it all comes down to integrity and doing the right thing. Pepsi understood that taking Coca-Cola's trade secrets would be highly unethical, not to mention illegal. Plus, they would be damaging their own reputation if word got out that they had stolen from their biggest rival. On the other hand, helping the FBI meant that they could clear their name and show everyone that they were willing to do the right thing. Plus, they weren't interested in buying a stolen product anyway. They didn't need the Coca-Cola formula to be successful. After all, they had their own secret formula that had been passed down from generation to generation since 1893. Even though the plot to steal Coca-Cola's trade secrets failed, it's still one of the most famous business scandals of all time. That's because it shows that even the biggest brands in the world aren't safe from thieves. But it also shows that even the most bitter of rivals can put their differences aside and do the right thing. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave us a like and subscribe so you never miss one of our videos.